we are very interested in MedTOWN, in the efforts that Greece has developed over the recent years in order to encourage the growth of these agents in the local economies. And as a matter of fact, we use the regulatory model of Greece as a case of best practices. That could be an example for the different countries around the Mediterranean for their own regulatory efforts. We would like to hear directly from Dr. Konstantinos GEORMAS. He's the General Director of the Organization for Welfare, Subsidies and Social Solidarity inside the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs in Greece. The floor is yours.
I would like to have a small, first of all, thank you for the invitation. Thank you very much, actually, for the invitation. Social economy is an issue that I am tackling since 2004, actually. We're a small group in the Ministry of Labor that first introduced the idea of using social economy for social inclusion back in 2004. And to be honest, I'm really happy now that the situation is like this in Greece. A small historical reference. The first law regarding a social enterprise in Greece was introduced back in 1999. And it was actually under the influence of a European project for reforming the mental system and the institutionalization of people with mental disabilities. So we had the social back then with the law that was introduced due to this influence, the social cooperation of limited liability back in 1999. The first law that, mentioned and introduced the form of the social cooperative, we call it in Greece social cooperative enterprise, was introduced back in 2011. And then there was a law in 2016 which made some amendments in this law, but didn't change the overall philosophy of the law. Parallel to the introduction of the laws in Greece, it was also a discussion regarding the action plan. Back in 2013, a group of experts was formed, both Greek and European experts, and set up a group, and then they presented a proposal to the ministry back then on an action plan. Some parts of this action plan have been implemented, but unfortunately only very few. Regarding also the ecosystem and how the social enterprises were developed, have been developed in Greece, I have to say a couple of points just to give to the audience, an idea how the field has been developed since 2011. At some point, we had around 1,000 social cooperative enterprises registered in the social economy registry. By the way, I have to mention here that the introduction of the social economy registry played a crucial role because somehow it gave a focal point and to all the people that want to be active in the field of social economy here in Greece, and gave them also a lot of consultancy in order how to go ahead with forming social enterprises, as well as regarding the programs that were available for social enterprises. And now regarding the formation of the ecosystem, the action plan that the Greek government has had till now, it's actually very ambitious, but unfortunately very few things have been implemented. One basic thing that has been implemented, but not, I would say in an extent that to cover the entire Greece area, is the support structures. Actually a lot of research has mentioned about the Greek case is that what is mostly and badly needed in the Greek situation is consultancy. Most of all is consultancy, and not so much the funds. Actually, there was a small research by the European Bank regarding funding of social enterprises, and the outcome of this research was that they don't need so much funding because they are small in scale, but mostly what do they need is consultancy and expertise regarding business plan and so on and so on and so on, things that we know in the field. One major issue that is lacking, and that was envisaged both in the law of 2019 and in the law of 14 of 2016, was a social economy fund. Unfortunately, until now, this fund has not been implemented because the fund will not also provide, funding for social enterprises, but also expertise and consultancy. And so it will have a really, how can I say, big impact regarding the development of the social entrepreneurship in Greece. Nowadays, I have to point out another issue regarding social entrepreneurship in Greece, that is mostly entrepreneurship by necessity, as you can find it in bibliography as entrepreneurship by necessity, and this has been affected by the economic crisis. People that form social enterprises, not all of them, but a really good percentage of them, they are doing that mostly because out of need, because they are unemployed, because they have a hope that they will find funding from the European structural funds and so on, and that has as a result, to have many social enterprises that start and then after 1 or 2 years to stop their function. And because now, for instance, also it has as an outcome the fact that although we have many registered social enterprises, for instance, now we have 1,600 at least social enterprises registered in the social economy registry. Only, I think, 1/3 of them are really active. And most of them actually, if you see the latest data from the social economy registry, they have a very low turnover. They have a very low turnover, yearly turnover, which depicts the fact that they are very fragile. Social entrepreneurship in Greece is very fragile for the time being. There have been some program now regarding the issue of the relationship of the social entrepreneurship and local authorities. I have to point out here some issues. In the law of the law of 2011. It was foreseen that social enterprises could have public contracts with local authorities. The experience out of this was kind of mixed in the sense that sometimes, I would say 50 or 60% of them, because I did a small research back then, local authorities were trying to, how can I say, to fill somehow gaps in services due to the lack of, I was speaking about the local authorities. They were trying to fill the gaps that they had due to the, the financial crisis in Greece and the memorandums. So they found a way, so to speak, to fill gaps in delivering services, and that was a kind of a bad, let's say, influence regarding the identity of the social entrepreneurship. This is not to say that there were not many social enterprises, that they do have to do with the local level and the needs that arise at the local level, and try also to address these needs that they face in the local level. Especially, there were many, not many, but a good number of social enterprises that deal with childcare or with people with disabilities. Especially in this area, we have a small but really active number of social enterprises, and I have to say also that these social enterprises also are somehow viable. You know, they survive. For instance, we have a couple of social enterprises that deal with people with disabilities, and they are still working today, and they are in good shape. You know, financially. There have been many programs that were envisaged in the ecosystem that was presented by the ministry back in 2017 and 2018, but unfortunately all these programs, they have not been implemented. And to be honest, how can I say it? I'm really trying hardly to find out why these programs have not been implemented. I do believe that implementation of these programs, which include, you know, subsidies for social inclusion, social enterprises, subsidies for, you know, startup enterprises, and so on and so on. They will provide a real good opportunity for the social enterprise sector in Greece to develop and have the appropriate position in the local level. One other thing that I want to point out regarding the local level is the absence of expertise regarding social enterprises. We have this is a real problem because, you know, there was also an idea to have a program in the local level that will subsidize the social enterprises, but this program was not implemented. And according to my research that I did in certain, you know, European programs, the answer that I got back was that we don't have the expertise. We don't, you know, I mean, from public employees that deal with the issue. We don't have the expertise and the knowledge of how social entrepreneurship works so as to set up an appropriate program that will support their development and that will support their development. I don't know how much time do I have left, so as not to...
You should be finishing.
Okay, so let me finish with with one general point. The introduction of the law back in 2011, it was a crucial, how can I say, turn point, break point for the development of the social entrepreneurship in Greece. The problem that was also mentioned in the first actional plan that I told you in the beginning, that was formed by the experts. The problem is that from then till now, there was not an effort to cultivate and promote and the identity and the culture and to promote, you know, the real identity of social entrepreneurship throughout both in civil society as well as in public administration. And that has been, according to my view and my research, one of the biggest obstacles for the development of social entrepreneurship groups. Not, of course, by this, I don't want to say that, you know, we do have the development of this sector in our country, but many things would have been better if many things of the action plan have been implemented. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. GEORMAS, and sorry again to everyone, to you especially, for the technical difficulties we're having. We're not that experienced in running online seminars of this scale, and we're learning by doing. So I reiterate my apologies. Thank you. It was really interesting, all that you said. We're starting to have a picture of how different countries in the Mediterranean approach the regulation of the sector. And I'd start to see that there's not necessarily a clear correlation between the efforts. Surely there is, but it's not only about developing a conducive environment of policies for social and solidarity economy, but there's strong interconnection with the reality of, for instance, the degree of decentralization of the local authorities in each context. If I compare very roughly the regulatory status of social and solidarity economy in Spain and in Greece, I see that there's a greater effort and a greater degree of detail in the regulation in the Greek context. For instance, the existence of a registry that you pointed out seems to be a key step in the direction of visibilizing and establishing what is social and solidarity economy. Exactly, while in Spain, that's left to let's say, interpretation, and the policy development is much less significant. But then when you compare the importance of the sector in terms of GPD, in terms of economic activity, we can see a greater degree of activity in Spain. So this is something to reflect together upon. But these were two examples in the northern Mediterranean sphere. Now we're going to listen to our colleagues in two southern Mediterranean countries.